Hey, my friends, Derek here from Bomb Socks with more Bomb Bites, where we feast upon the words of Christ, and we do it one bite at a time. So I want to give just kind of a quick little episode for you today. I always, whenever I'm working with teenagers, one of the things I always remind them about that, when you're going on a mission at age 18 or 19, whatever it is, you're only about 6 years out of primary. When you think about that, here they are, you got this kid, a few years ago who was, singing about popcorn popping on the apricot tree. And all of a sudden, 6 years later, we're sending them to a foreign country to be on their own with all kinds of autonomy to be able to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. And oftentimes I think about that. It's like, boy, we turn the gospel over to teenagers. But honestly, I believe in the teenagers in this world. I taught seminary for 20 some odd years, and I believe in them. I wouldn't do this if I didn't believe in them. One of the verses that really shows me how much the Lord trusts the youth of the church, and really anybody who doesn't have that much experience in the gospel, you go to section 35 of the Doctrine and Covenants. Now, 35 has got some cool promises in there to those who don't feel like they have a lot of experience. And it's so interesting. Like right now, I'm getting young men and a couple young women as well, getting mission calls, and they're getting ready. And you could see there's an excitement there, but there's also a nervousness there that all of a sudden this is becoming very real in their lives. That all the things they've talked about growing up, I'm going to go on a mission, all of a sudden it is staring them in the face as they have a place where they are going, they have a language that they're going to be speaking, and they have a date that they're going to start. All of a sudden it's becoming very real. So these are some verses that I think every young man, young woman needs to be reminded about, and every young bishop and every young Relief Society president and every whatever it is that you're serving in. Section 35, you go to verse 13. I call upon the weak things of the world, those who are unlearned and despised, to thresh the nations with the power of my spirit. That's kind of a cool little promise. Whenever I thought about that, I always used to use the term thrash, and thresh is a variation of the word thrash. Thrash just means you're just going out, you're gonna tear your way through this world, which I like that idea. But thresh is an interesting word. Thresh, if you look it up here, it says to separate grain from a plant, typically with a flail or by an action of a revolving mechanism. So really, it's what harvesters would use to go out and gather the wheat from the midst of the tares. That's, if you know these first sections of the Doctrine and Covenants, here we are, we're 30 some odd sections in, and the Lord has just talked so much about the gathering, and he's talked so much about, behold, the field is white, all ready to harvest. There are so many individuals back in the day who were farmers. And so the Lord is using these terms to be able to help them understand what it is like to gather. It's like, look, you know how you're out there preparing to get that wheat in? The field is white. I think farmers appreciate that. So what are you going to do? You're going to go out and thresh the nations, meaning you're going to go out there and you are going to gather in you're going to go gather in that grain that is ready to be taught and ready to be brought into the gospel there. So I love that idea. Verse 14 is super cool as well. And their arm shall be my arm, and I will be their shield and their buckler. The shield is the big thing. The buckler is kind of the smaller part of it. And I will gird up their loins, and they shall fight manfully for me. I like to picture these young men out there, these young kids. And what does the Lord do? He helps them fight manfully. And their enemies shall be under their feet, and I will let fall the sword in their behalf. And the fire of mine indignation, I will preserve them. And the poor and the meek shall have the gospel preached unto them, and they shall be looking for the time of my coming, for it is nigh at hand. And then you go all the way down to 24. Keep all the commandments and covenants by which ye are bound. These are to individuals who have just joined the church, so they made those covenants. And I will cause the heavens to shake for your good. That's the second time the Lord has given that promise. The first one is in section 21 when he talks about the promises for following the prophet. I will cause the heavens to shake for your good, and then, this is so cool, and Satan shall tremble. Like that needs to be vinyl lettered somewhere on a pillow. Satan shall tremble, and Zion shall rejoice upon the hills and flourish. So that's what happens when you take time to be able to really go out there and you don't have a lot of experience. And that's cool. The Lord doesn't care about age. He just cares about your willingness. In fact, there's a cool quote here, and I think I had this in my bishop's office because I was a pretty young bishop when I was called. This is from President Monson. He says, when you are on the Lord's errand, you are entitled to the Lord's help, for whom God calls God qualifies. And there were times where I would be sitting there feeling very young, guys coming in telling me they have Levi's older than me. Actually, I had that happen. It was kind of fun. But I'm sitting there, it's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. What do? You look at that. It's like, you're entitled to God's help, and whom God calls, God qualifies. I can testify to you that that is true. So if you feel inexperienced and if you feel like I have no idea what I'm doing, that's awesome. That means you're in a great place to be able to do some good things, and the Lord will thresh the nations with you. His arm will be your arm, and he will be your shield. I know that's true. I've watched it happen in my own life, and I know it can happen in other lives as well. Hey, thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing, and thanks for sharing. You guys are awesome. Godspeed, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.